to bring in Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. And Senator, good morning to you, and thank you for your time today. As you recall, it sure was ugly.
Thank you.
Yeah. How has it worked out?
Yeah, it sure was. Terrible at every level. Number one, this decision was against sound military advice. The military told President Biden we needed a residual force to avoid what happened. Biden became General Biden, and sort of the rest is history. We can talk about this all day long. It makes me sick to my stomach. I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan over 50 times since 9/11. It's dishonorable what we did. It's going to make it hard to get new allies. But here's my takeaway. The likelihood of another attack in the, on American soil and American allies emanating from Afghanistan because of what Biden did is through the roof. We haven't ended any war at all. We started a new one.
One of the things that the National Security Council at the Biden administration is trying to do is to, on this anniversary, look back and say, like, not our fault. Yeah. And they're looking at the previous president. Here's a quote from their draft memo. Former President Trump's 2020 agreement with the Taliban empowered the Taliban, weakened our partners in the Afghan government, and committed to withdrawing our troops a few months after President Biden's inauguration with no clear plan for what should come next. What they don't include there, as I understand it, that there were conditions that had to be met if those troops were going to come home. Sir.
Well, I thought the buck stopped with Biden. What happened to that concept? You got a memo now trying to blame Trump, and you can look back over history. There'll be some blame there. But it was Biden's decision to pull the plug on Afghanistan against sound military advice. There were conditions in place for our withdrawal. The Taliban were not meeting in those conditions. You know, this was a political decision by Biden. He wanted to get out by 9/11, 2021, 20 years later. He wanted to be the American president that ended America's longest war. Well, it backfired on him. We didn't end the longest war. We started a new one. Al-Qaeda camps are emerging, training camps are emerging in Afghanistan as I speak, and the border is broken. So the same people who are talking about Afghanistan are also in control of your border. This is one of the biggest mistakes in the war on terror. It is setting in motion, I can't say this enough, another attack against America, 9/11 style, because we've abandoned Afghanistan. We're repeating history, and it was all avoidable. The buck does stop with Joe Biden. There's nobody else to blame but him. He's been wrong about everything for the last 30 or 40 years. My biggest fear about him being president is he would do something this stupid.
Wow. You know, Al-Qaeda, some measure of it has moved back into Kabul. Zawahiri taken out a week ago is good evidence of that. You got ISIS battling with Al-Qaeda. Yeah, right. Do you have any indication that ISIS worked with us to locate Zawahiri in Kabul?
Who knows? We got one guy, and I applaud the killing of Zawahiri. He was one of the planners of 9/11. He was the head of Al-Qaeda. But look where he was at. He was in a guest house owned by the #2 Taliban commander. So the idea they're not working with the Taliban is a joke. So you got ISIS fighting Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda is aligned with the Taliban. What do these three groups have in common? The radical Islamists. What have we learned in the last year? If you're a woman in a radical Islamic country, your life is miserable. We're teaching a new generation of young boys to disrespect women. They're starving to death because radical Islamists couldn't run a one-car funeral. The conditions in Afghanistan are deplorable. Everything we worked for 20 years was wasted, and the training camps that existed before 9/11 are being reestablished, and it's just a matter of time before terrorism in Afghanistan migrates to America, and the likely path would be a broken southern border, and Mayorkas is doing nothing. We're on schedule to have 2 million illegal immigrants cross the border this year. At the same time, Al-Qaeda is present in Afghanistan working with the Taliban. How do you think this movie's going to end?
Well, I mean, it was just confirmed yesterday that 66 people on the terror watch list walk across that border going back to October of last year. Go ahead, Dan.
Just before we lose you, a question about the raid on Trump's home, Mar-a-Lago. As a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, would you be allowed to see the underlying documents, the actual affidavit, even if it doesn't get made public anytime soon? Would there be oversight from the Senate Judiciary Committee over that document?
Well, the Intel Committee, in a bipartisan fashion, the Senate Intelligence Committee, is asked to look at the affidavit. I hope that will be granted because there's supposedly classified information involved. But I want to echo what most Republicans have been saying. After Crossfire Hurricane and after the Mueller investigation, where the FISA court rebuked the Department of Justice for giving them bad information, false information, misleading information regarding Carter Page, when it comes to Trump, there are no rules. Every Republican should be suspicious of what's happened in the past happening again. So we need the affidavit. Show your cards. Merrick Garland can't have it both ways. He can't give us the inventory, the warrant, without telling us why it was necessary to raid the former president's home and there was no less intrusive method available. The affidavit should help us a lot understand what happened here. And without the affidavit, we're flying blind in the dark, and the American people are going through too much pain, too much heartache on this endless effort to destroy Donald Trump. It's time for the Department of Justice. They have no more benefit of the doubt, in my view, to turn over the affidavit so all of us can look at it. At a minimum, give it to the Intel Committee and Judiciary Committee so you can have senators from both sides look at it.
Right.
Based on some of the reporting, it may be months before that happens. We shall see. Senator, thank you for your time. Lindsey Graham, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.